Hey there, Dan here, back with another video. Today's video is gonna possibly be a longer one. I've got a cool comic haul to show off at the start, then I've got a whole bunch of great books that I read. So without wasting any time, let's get down to it. I did just notice though on the screen that I'm wearing this This Will Destroy You shirt. So just a little plug for this really cool band, This Will Destroy You, instrumental band from Texas that I was lucky enough to get the chance to book a couple shows for when I was a promoter for a few years, and played some shows with them with my band. So if you like, atmospheric instrumental rock music, it's really good. So before we get started, quick thank you to Comic Crack. Mr. Terrence had Darrell D and I on his channel on Sunday last week for a live hangout, and it was super fun. It was the first time I'd ever done that, and I had a really great time, and I think Darrell did as well. We got to shoot the shit about music and comics and music and how it all kind of ties into our lives. So go over to Comic Crack's channel and you can catch that video if you're interested. Speaking of Darrell D, I got some comics in the mail from Darrell. He had posted a video recently showing off a bunch of $2 magazines, and so he had a claim sale, and I claimed a bunch of them. So I'm going to be opening up that box in just a second here. But first, let's take a look at some of the new stuff that I purchased in my town. First thing I got was from the used bookstore, and is a book called Legal Action Comics Volume 2. This is... who put this out? Can't remember the publisher, it's not very clear. Anyways, this is a big anthology, 292 pages. And it says Art Spiegelman, Kim Deitch, Skip Williamson, Harry S. Robbins, Carol Leigh, Tony Millionaire, and more. So 73 cartoonists, and all of it looks really, really good. Just flipping through this art, it just all really appeals to me quite a bit. So there's more cartoony stuff. It looks like Tony Millionaire. There's, let me see here. Just show a few pages. These black and white anthologies can be kind of hit or miss, but this one looks really nice. So I haven't got the chance to read it yet, but that's a really nice looking artist right there. So I have to dig a little more and see. Also, I noticed in the front it is signed. So the guy who put this together's name is Danny Hellman, and he wrote, "Thanks, Jeff, stay dirty." Danny Hellman. So Legal Action Comics Volume 2. Second thing I got was something I already made a video about, actually. This is the Ghost Agents book by Landgraf and Massimo. And I made a dedicated video for this, so you should definitely check that out. But got it from Cosmic Lion. They sent it with this nice little thank you note here and a free sticker. So go over to Cosmic Lion and pick up a copy of this. Watch my video first if you want to see what this is all about. But it's Ken Landgraf, beautifully colored. Landgraf is mostly known for black and white, but that is a really amazingly colored comic of lots of fighting and sexy dancing. Okay, the first thing I have to show off that I got from my shop is something that I special ordered. I actually found out about this a while back, that it was coming out, and it's from Rebellion. So I was like really close to special ordering this, like pre-ordering it from the Rebellion website and getting it from the UK. But then I checked with my shop to see if I could get it through them, so I didn't have to pay for shipping. And it wasn't available for a long time, and I kept saying, well, it's available for pre-order there, why can't you get it here? So I ended up just holding out, and eventually it came up for order and I got it. So it's Action Before the Ban, the Archival Collection, Volume 1, big beefy hardcover. And this is the first 12 issues of Action, the 1970s anthology that Pat Mills created along with Jeff Kemp before they created 2000 AD. And this has Hookjaw, Dredger, Look Out for Lefty, Blackjack, a whole bunch more. And the main thing with this book is, with this series, it was a weekly anthology, and after less than a year, it was pulled from publication because of its graphic nature. It had a lot of violence and things that people were complaining about. A lot of copies, I think, were pulped, and this title was canceled. There was also another anthology called Battle that was more of just like war stories and things, and so eventually they kind of just rolled it into one and called it Battle Action. And that is a title that went for quite a long time, and then Garth Ennis has recently revamped Battle Action for the modern times. This is a Dawn Lawrence cover, but what's cool is it's like a facsimile kind of presentation here. So you have the original covers, and then you have the ads and everything with it. And I like what they do at the front here, because all of these chapters in each issue has a lot of different stories that are only like sometimes 2 or 3 pages long. So if you wanted to just read that one story, you have to keep flipping forward in the book. So in the table of contents, they do lay it out by the story and tell you what pages each story is on. So that way you can jump around. Of course, it would be kind of nice to just sit there and read the whole Blackjack story or the whole Hellman of Hammerforce story in order, but it's kind of fun to see how this looks in the original publication. I really like these old British comics, and this has just been one of the most highly recommended series. I do have the Hookjaw book, so here's a clip of Hookjaw. I have the entire collection of Hookjaw already, and I cannot recommend that book enough. It's fantastic. But there's also some war stuff in here. There's one story that looks to be about like long distance runners or something like that. There's obviously a bunch of action stories, crime stuff. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to checking this whole book out. Got quite a few larger books I'm reading right now, but I will be getting to that soon. Surprisingly, sitting on the counter at my store was this copy of Scarf, and this is a broadsheet magazine style anthology, and I think this is issue number 16. I've got a couple other issues of Scarf, so I don't know, it was the last one they had. Whoa, there's some stickers that just fell out of it. Random. Sticker there, and Jeremy Tolamentes. Random. That is weird. But yeah, I'm not sure where they got these. The owner did not know either. Okay. Oh, also on the counter there was this free ash can other half from Ignition. Doesn't look that good, but I grabbed it anyway. Okay, so let's see what I got as far as new stuff here. Ah, yes. Escape number 6. Very excited for this. I love this series. If you watched my recent video, I went through an explanation of why I like this series so much and showed off a little bit of art from the first 5 issues. And here is issue 6. Speaking of issue 6s, there is Skinbreaker number 6. I think this might be the last issue, but I'm not sure. I have been waiting to read this till I got all of them. I do that with certain titles, but not others. And this is one, it's just, it looks so good. And I do like Robert Kirkman. The art is so beautiful. I just kind of want to be able to read that all in a row. And I did that with a different title, which I'm going to review very soon in just a minute. And I'm very pleased that I made that decision. Here's Red Book number 4. The variant cover on that really appealed to me. This one I believe is about China. There is a new Punisher. They are really cranking out the Punishers these days. I mean, Punisher was gone for so long, and now he's not only back, but he's got like 4 titles, I think. So I'm super stoked about that. This one looks, as far as the art, looks all right. It doesn't look like the greatest thing ever, but it also doesn't look like your typical Marvel art. It's a little bit more edgy, in my opinion. Ooh, cool. There's a little skin face thing there going there. So it's parental advisory, but not red band or whatever. So Benjamin Percy writer, Jose Luis Suarez artist. Oren Jr. inker. Okay, I grabbed up, excuse me, I grabbed up number 5 and 6 of TMNT Journeys that were in my pull box. So now I have the first 6. I'm all caught up on that. I also got Wrestle Heist number 3. Totally enjoying this series. It's been a blast. Here's a couple of new number 1s. This is The Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery from the newly revamped Vertigo. And this is Condon and Phillips, same team that did that Texas Blood and the, what was that, Massacre book. That book was really, really good. So this looks like a good crime noir series. The other number 1 that I got is called Is Ted Okay? So what I did was I had 2 or 3, I think maybe 3 titles that I had got issues 1 of, and then, or no, so let's see, the Spirit of the Shadows, I got number 1, decided not to go on with number 2. The Infernal Hulk, I had got the first 3, decided not to carry on with that. So I skipped out on those 2 and 1 other book, but I replaced them with other things, so kind of balanced out. But I'd never heard of this series. It's Ted Chisholm. I know I've seen this guy's art before, I just can't recall where, but I just got it because of the nice art. I don't remember what the description of this one was all about. But looks like we got some aliens and exploding cars. Good stuff. All right. Void Rivals 27. Quintesson War carrying on here. I got Save Now number 3. So they came out with a 0 issue and now they're back to the regular numbering. And the last new title is The Batman Second Night. This is the 3rd issue, final issue of this one. All right, so now I've got a big box from Darrell, and I'm going to bust this out and show you guys what I got, but I'm not really going to go through all this stuff. I am going to be mostly just talking about the new stuff I read, and there's some really cool stuff coming up. So, let's see here. All right, got a lot of packing peanuts and a massive brick of magazines. Bam. Gonna be having another haul next week as well. I got something in the mail coming. Should be here anytime. So this is mostly Warren stuff from the 70s, and it's all reader copies. A lot of them are in pretty poor condition, but super cheap, and I just never find these things around in my area. So I decided to get this and throw some bucks Darrell's way. Whoa, something fell out that I was not expecting. A paperback called War Child, and it says Corbin cover on the back. Hell yeah, Darrell, wow. That's amazing. You know, Darrell sent me another little paperback book. It was the Magazine of Science Fiction and Fantasy, and it's sitting over here, let me grab it. This is one that Darrell sent me recently. He put on the back early Corbin cover art. Yeah, it's early, all right. That's actually the first published Richard Corbin in existence, was this cover. Doesn't look very recognizable as Corbin, but it's really nice little painting. And I read something online about how he created this by like painting a paper bag and crumbling it up around a rock or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but that's a paper bag. And now I've got another one, War Child from Questar by Richard Bowles. That's a pretty sweet cover. Thanks, Darrell. Okay, so I'm just going to show the covers of these, and then once I've got a chance to read them, I will report back in. So I got Creepy 42, Creepy 24, Here's an early one, Creepy 18. That's a super sweet cover. Creepy 39. $55. And I didn't, he told me which ones had Corbin in them, and I didn't just grab the ones with Richard Corbin because I'm not too concerned about that. I've got all the Richard Corbin Creepy and Eerie in my hardcover, so I was mainly just trying to pick out ones that looked like they had other really great stuff, really good artists. This one is number 49, and I love that cover. Wow. Who did that cover? That is incredible. And, oh, this is the one I was like, I almost messed up and told him I put like 42 twice and I didn't say 41. I wrote him back. I was like, oh, give me 41. I want 41. It's in horrible condition. It's all taped up at the bottom, but look at that painting. Oh my God. Wow. All right, on to an Eerie, number 40. Also taped up, but super sweet cover on that Eerie 40. Got some Vampirellas, number 12. Very early. It's all, yeah, it's all ripped up, but whatever. Vampirella, number 42. I don't have a whole lot of Vampirellas, and I really want to get the one that Corbin did. I think it's like 33, maybe. I don't know if he had many other stories in Vampirella. Eerie, 32. Eerie number 14, horribly water damaged and big chunk out of the back, but all right, Vampirella 38. And now we've got some stuff that is looking to be not Warren. Rampaging Hulk number 3. Darrell has spoken many times about how the Rampaging Hulk was like the magazine that really hooked him when he was a kid. You know, being in black and white and being a magazine, you know, feels more like it was made for adults instead of your typical Marvel Comics. Number 4 as well. This is a pretty sweet cover. So I think I only have one other issue of this Rampaging Hulk, but damn, looks great. Looks kind of like Alex Nino maybe on that. Could be wrong. Here's an interesting one. It's a graphic novel. Couldn't pass this up for $2, even though I don't know about this character at all. Death's Head. I think maybe I have one thing with Death's Head in it. So I don't know. Is Death's Head cool? And is this cool? Furman and Senior is the creators on it. Stoked on this. Punisher magazine number 2. Amazing. So this is reprints of the Circle of Blood Punisher, the very first original miniseries by Mike Zeck, Stephen Grant on the script, cover by Steve Rude on that one, and you know, black and white reprinting of the Mike Zeck stuff. So I've got the original issues of this series, and I think I have an old original trade paperback of it as well. But I have never managed to get any of these Punisher magazines before. So really glad to have that one. All right, I got an Epic Illustrated June 83. Been trying to complete this run for a long time. Now I'm one issue closer. That one's got a big chunk out of the cover. Cool, Vampirella 66 with Pantha. I've got a magazine that prints a bunch of Pantha stuff. I really enjoy that character. Here's an Eerie 1972 annual. And a Creepy number 69. And something I did not expect. I don't even know what the hell this is. Blake Frosty O's. This is like, this is just like some photocopied thing with a staple in the corner. There's gotta be a reason he sent this to me. Some kind of, I don't know. it's like maybe photocopied pages from a magazine. There's got to be something about Richard Corbin in here, I bet. There's a bunch of stuff on Rocky and Bullwinkle. Breakfast Club. Grape Nuts? I don't know. Wow. We'll find out when I get a chance to look through it, but I'm not going to sit here and stare at it on this camera. But it's in a bag and board. It's got to be special in some way. And then looks like he tossed me a music magazine. That's nice of him. Gold Mine. With a Pearl Jam cover. Yeah. Just some kind of music magazine. Right on. Sweet. Very cool. All right. Well, that's a nice looking haul there. All right. So before I get on to the longer stuff I want to talk about, I did show off a few things briefly towards the end of the video with Terrence and Darrell. Just some things I wanted to recommend to them that I thought that they would like based on what I know about their tastes. And so I'm not going to really go into great detail about any of this stuff, but I figured I could just show it really fast on here. And some of this will have its own dedicated video. So we'll start with the things I wanted to show Darrell D. Of course, he already had this, but this is a comic called Felt, True Tales of Underground Hip Hop. And this is by Jim Mahfood. And it is about the music of these two rappers, Slug and Murs, from Atmospherics and something else I can't quite recall. But this is some earlier Jim Mahfood work. It's 2005. And it's kind of like taking a bunch of the tracks from this collaborative album these guys did called Felt and just making little comic strips about them, about the songs, and just Jim's own creativity derived from the aesthetics of their music and their rapping, the rap group. So I got this from my shop. I found this in the back issue bins a really long time ago. And with the bonus bucks, it only cost me $1.50. And that was a wise $1.50 spent because this is a rare comic. These go for kind of a lot. And it's in great condition. And it's just chock full of awesome Mahfood art. There's some parts in it towards the end that I feel like were maybe kind of him just doing his own thing. This was one of my favorites, Fear and Loathing in Life Vegas. And so this is like a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas spin-off kind of story. Definitely getting a bit of that Stedman splatter on these pages. Super fun. I like Jim Mahfood every era. I just love it all. Here's kind of like an old romance comic kind of spoof. So there's the back cover. So this is definitely a comic to grab if you come across it for a reasonable price. The other comic that I wanted to show Darrell isn't technically a comic. It is a art book, but I know his love for Richard Corbin, so I decided to show off Richard Corbin's art book. And this is one that I also got a really good deal on. I got this for cover price, and it is just a bunch of paintings that Corbin did. Some of them will have sketches, like preliminary sketches, like, okay, so here's the famous image from the Creepy magazine right down here, and then there's some prelims right over here, and then there's a recolored version. And what I love about this book is it explains in these little paragraphs, in Corbin's own words, things about the creation of these pieces. So it's really nice to hear. He lists the dimensions and what kind of media he used to create these paintings. And some of them are not, paint. There's a lot of different stuff that he uses in here. But a lot of it I haven't seen before, and some of it I have. This one was published as an art print, and it's like from the Bodyssey, but it was never included in that. This one was from some kind of a role-playing game or something. You can see his is a rough sketch, not very rough, but really awesome. And then the finished painting. So I'm not going to go into any more detail on it, but that's an outstanding book. For Terrence, I was suggesting he check out Rooftop Stew by Max Clotfelter, and he had not seen this yet. This is a small little graphic novel compilation of Clotfelter's work, and it's put out by Birdcage Bottom Books. Absolutely love this book, and I will probably do a more of a deeper dive on this comic in the future. So I'm not really going to go into it right now, but it is highly explicit and offensive and gross and funny, and I think a lot of it is kind of autobiographical. There's definitely some autobio stuff, but it is messed up. Like this one, Country Cousin Hal smokes PCP. And then look what happens to him when he smokes the PCP. Everything starts melting. So Max Clotfelter does a lot of mini comics, and I've got quite a few of his mini comics. So maybe I'll do like a whole Max Clotfelter video at some point. But that's a fun book. The last thing I wanted to suggest that Terrence check out, and anyone else who's watching this video or these videos, is this series called Blazing Violence featuring the Predator. And these are, to the best of my knowledge, like what you might call, I guess, a ground level comic. They came out in 1975 and were have the aesthetic of an underground comic, but not like the subject matter of an underground comic. More of a vigilante superhero kind of thing. The character's first appearance was in this magazine, Ace of Spades. And this is an anthology. It actually has some early Matt Howarth and some other artists. But this is where this character, the Predator, first appeared. Then he got his own title. Larry Lemire is the guy's name who draws this. So I'm just kind of whetting your appetite for this by showing the covers. But I will make a video of these at some point. Maybe soon, since I did just reread them. I really had a great time rereading them. That cover is just outstanding. I love the proportions. They're all kind of stretched out looking. The cover of this is weird. It has this strange texture, almost like I don't know, like the texture of a encyclopedia or something. Quick honorable mention. I already talked about this, but I finished Trashed, and damn, this is a good book. So I would highly recommend this book, Trashed. In case you guys didn't watch my previous video, this is Durf Back Durf doing a somewhat autobiographical comic about garbage men and the garbage industry. So most of it is just hilarious, funny stuff that happens to garbage men, and as you can imagine, a lot of it is very gross. But then there's a lot of parts interspersed where there's a lot of information about what happens in our world with garbage and landfills, and it's educational in a lot of ways, but in no way annoying and preachy. Just fantastic cartooning, hilarious stuff, and you learn something. What's not to love? So get that book if you haven't already. All right, let's start with the thing that I read recently that just came out that is fantastic. I'm talking about Good as Dead by David Lapham, co-written by Maria Lapham, his wife, but it was actually created by two guys, Chris Black and David Alpert. So I don't know anything about those guys and what they did to create this, but it's pretty much just feels like a Lapham book. It is written and lettered and drawn by David Lapham. Like I said, Maria co-writes it, and then D. Caniff colors it. So this is all done in the traditional 8-panel, count Dan, 8-panel grid that you would have seen from Stray Bullets. So I'm going to talk about the first issue a bit and set things up, and I'm not going to be spoiling this, don't worry. But it starts out with this woman here, and she is kind of like, I don't know, like the matriarch of this town, Port Linden. It's right up by Canada. And she owns this welcome center. She's very wealthy, and she just kind of runs shit in this town, and it's not good the way she's doing it. We also see this big bridge, and this guy going across this bridge ends up lighting himself on fire, and that creates the start of a mystery that our main character, the Sheriff Calhoun, is trying to determine. So the Valades, or Valades, I think it's Valades, are the woman that we saw at the beginning, and then his family's the Calhouns, and they've kind of had like a bit of a rivalry going on for generations in this town. So she owns that bridge, and she owns the Welcome Center, so her family sort of controls the way things come in and out of the town. There's a lot of crooked stuff going on. The sheriff also has this new partner, this woman here, and he's right towards the beginning of the series, he starts coughing violently all the time, and we'll find out in just a moment what's going on. So this scene here, he's going out into the woods to search for his sister Bobby in her little shed, and she's got a bunch of no trespassing signs and like landmines and explosives. She's got a no alien sign. So she's kind of paranoid about the world, the government, and aliens and things like that. Here she is like laying down inside of some weird little coffin inside of her floor with an assault rifle. So she was she's ex-military, and she was in Afghanistan, and she is badass. She is super smart, super athletic, has tons of guns, knows tons of stuff about how to like do like covert ops missions, and she plays a huge part in the story. She's one of the things that makes the action in this really, really fun. So here's the big setup about what this whole series is about. There's this new bridge opening in town, and our main characters are very happy that this bridge is going in, because it's going to be a second way for people to get in and out of this city and get across the border. And that's going to hopefully reduce this Valade woman's control over the town. Obviously, she's not happy about this other bridge going in. They're having this ribbon cutting ceremony, and as it's happening, the sheriff's coughing and coughing and coughing and spitting up blood, and as they're cutting the ribbon, the bridge starts coming apart, and the entire bridge collapses, and it kills like 150 people as the sheriff passes out. So, good as dead. This comic is about the sheriff dying, and they take him to the hospital, and they run these tests, and they find out that he has some sort of microbial toxin that is literally eating his internal organs. They've sent samples of his blood to the CDC, but they don't have a clue what this actually is. He has been poisoned, basically. So he's got a week to live, and he is in really bad shape. He can't stop coughing. He's in horrendous pain. His organs are basically being liquefied, and he is running out the clock on his life. And his final mission is now to take out the Valades. He has a wife and son, and he unfortunately can't spend this last week with them because his mission is so important because of their rivalry that goes back generations. The Valades did something to supposedly kill his father, and we don't ever meet the father or anything like that. But here's an example of how everyone's like in bed with everyone else. There's a lot of controversial stuff going on, and the sheriff is constantly popping pills for the pain. He snuck into the evidence locker at the police station and got a whole bunch of pills, and he has to keep taking them constantly because he's in so much pain. He can't even function otherwise. Here's a kind of epic scene where they totally Chinatown him, except for on the lip instead of the nose. It's classic. There's a nice little editorial in the back of each issue. So I'm not going to tell you too much more about the story, but look at him on the front cover. He's got these bags of pills and painkillers, syringes, and his gun, and he starts to break all the capillaries around his eyes from coughing, so he just looks worse and worse and worse, just taking tons of drugs. And there is this other girl who is right here, and she gets introduced very early on. Her family was killed in the bridge collapse, so she plays a major part and is mostly involved in helping out his wife and their son, and the son takes a liking to her. I'm going to skip forward and just try to hit a couple of the main points. We have the parents of the sheriff's assistant deputy girl, and her parents are all heavily medicated too. They just sit in their trailer watching TV, eating fish sticks and stuff, and taking drugs. There's a lot of drugs in this comic, and there is a fair share of violence. I'm trying to find this one interesting part. Okay, so here's the sister coming to help him out, and she's got some stuff to help inject him with to help out with his pain. And this is she's talking about when she was in Afghanistan. We were ambushed up in the Hindu Kush. Our machine gunner had his lower half blown off by a grenade. We shot him full of this. He kept firing his .240 until he didn't have a drop of blood left in him. It's some kind of crazy opioid, I'm sure. And then, how do you feel? Better, a lot better. And she goes, I mixed it with some Blackfoot herbs and a bit of crushed psilocybin. What's? And she's like, mushrooms, very little. You have to transcend, David. The world is too painful for you now. Here, these pills are basically the same shit. So she's giving him pills that are made out of the same stuff she's giving him the injection was. And she's like, take one every hour or every 10 minutes to stay ahead of it. There's a nice dose of speed in there too. We can't have you in a coma while you're supposed to be busting heads, can we? So the whole story, he's now taking these pills that are both like opioid painkillers mixed with psilocybin mushrooms and speed. So he is just out there. You can see it right there. What? But that's not what's so cool about this series. It's just a total mystery, tons of great characters all intertwining in a very, very engaging way. And yeah, I mean, there's just keep being more and more great characters introduced that I don't necessarily want to spoil what they're all about. But yeah, they keep popping up. And yeah, it's just a very, very deep, layered mystery story that never leaves you confused, but always leaves you wondering what's going to happen next. I'm super glad I read this all just in a row. I read like one issue a day for 6 days and loved every single page. It would be a great book to get in a hardcover when they come out with that. So if this seems appealing to you, if you like David Lapham, if you like Stray Bullets, this is just great. It's just as good as the best of Stray Bullets. It's just different. It's not the same, but it's really, really good. Here's a really cool scene. So his sister is having to cross the border with the deputy chick, and she got caught, and all of her assault rifles and guns got taken away from her. So she's in the car with the deputy. She's laying down in the back seat. All of a sudden she reaches in her mouth and pulls out this little string, and she had ingested this little satchel she pulls out from her stomach by this string that was probably like wrapped around her tooth. And then she starts grunting and sweating a little bit and producing something from another orifice in her body, one from down below, I'm sure. And it is a small handgun that she assembles in the back seat. And that little satchel was full of the bullets. So they took all her guns, but they didn't get all of them. Badass. All right, just show off a little bit. Here's issue 4's cover. That's the sister hanging upside down. Yeah, it's really good. Really, really fun. Action-packed. Super engaging. What else should I say about it? I think I've said enough. I'm not going to spoil it, that's for sure. Just kind of got the sense of it, and there's the final issue, number 6. Really, really great. Good as dead. Strong recommendation from me. Okay, here's another recent acquisition. This was Aliens Special. Got this for the Frank Turan. Maybe it's Terran. I think it's Turan. He does the first story in here. It's written by Darko McCann, and Frank draws it, all black and white. It has 2 stories in this comic, but this art was why I got this comic. And it was not a lot of story. This is a pretty short one, but the art is absolutely great. And reading this, as well as reading that recent Conan that had that Liam Sharp art, just made me really long for more of this Frank Turan and Liam Sharp black and white stuff. Then I happened to be watching a video by Big Elbow, and he was showing off stuff from both of those artists. So it got me going down the rabbit hole on the Grand Comics database, looking up everything that those guys have done, looking at what looks cool, and adding those to my want list. So I did that, and I think I might have had a couple things already ordered. So this next one's called Elder Gods, written by Nancy A. Collins, penciled by Leaf Jones, inked by John Stokes. This one also has really great art. It's a much longer story. This first one was wordless. This one has tons and tons of text, but it's about how they're colonizing this particular planet, Mira Seti 4, and there's like this kind of weird cult religious guy there, and he's got a bunch of followers, and they discover something in the earth, and they want to excavate and figure out what that's all about. And of course it's a big old queen alien queen, probably the right way to say it. So I'm not going to try to explain this one, but real good art. Real good comic. Okay. Something else older that I just finished reading, The Complete Zorro by Alex Toth, Volume 1. I do have the Volume 2, and I'm going to be reading that one soon. This was originally put out by Eclipse, but this volume was reprinted by Image. I think it's kind of cool that Image Comics reprinted this old Eclipse, magazine-sized trade paperback and just left it looking exactly like it did. They didn't repackage it, but I really love Alex Toth, and I really love Zorro. So this is all of his stuff. I believe this was all done for, Dell or Gold Key, one of the two. It's Walt Disney Zorro. So I think this is kind of based on the Disney Zorro stuff that I remember watching when I was a kid. And it's fantastic. If you haven't read Zorro, this would be an absolutely great one to jump in on. Really sets everything up perfectly. Short stories, tons of stories in here. I can say one thing, the art started out really, really detailed with a lot of attention to the backgrounds. And as the comic went on, maybe the deadlines caught up with them because it got a little bit more rushed looking. So I have the Volume 2 I have is put out by Eclipse. I don't have the Image one for both. But I just got whatever I could find on Lone Star when they became available. So most people watching this probably know who Zorro is, but definitely a 2 thumbs up book right there. Okay, here's another new comic that I just read, Death Fight Forever #1. So this comic is written by Andrew McLean, and the first 2 issues are going to be drawn by Alexis Zirrit, and then there's a bunch of other artists that are taking over for subsequent issues. So this first issue didn't have a whole lot of plot, but it's a good setup. I really liked it. And here's some credits. You can see the creators for the next issues. But this one's all Alexis Zerrett, and that first splash right there is Alexis Zerrett, kind of as you know him with the Space Riders look. But then the rest of it looks quite a bit different from that, but still really awesome. And so there's this evil tiger guy out in this place in South America or Central America or somewhere with these temples, and these action star guys are coming in on this chopper to take him down. That's kind of all you need to know. It's just setting up the world and the characters. This is highly influenced by like 90s video games and action movies, which I'm all about. This is kind of cool, and he makes his escape. He has these choppers straight up pick up his temple and just lift it out of there. And this woman with the skull hat, let me see if I can get a better shot of her. Well, there she is on the cover for issue 2. But here she is. She was one of the henchmen of the tiger guy, and she got left behind. So now she's pissed, and I think she's going to switch sides. So that was fun. I really dug it. Read an old issue of Judge Dredd, number 30. Look how awesome this Bolland cover is. His face is covered in shrooms. This one has 2 stories, both drawn by Carlos Ezquerra. Mecha City is about after the Apocalypse War, this Leglock, the king of droids here, decided to start his own city just for robots. Totally against the law. Of course, Dredd is going to have none of that. It was really great. Great art. Great story. Then the one with the shrooms is Fungus. John Wagner and Alan Grant with Carlos Ezquerra on the art. These are always colored by John Burns in this edition, these Eagle comics. Really love the coloring on this. Love the way it's been reproduced. And this is, these guys find these mushrooms, and they had gotten contaminated from the cursed earth or something, and when the spores pop open, it infects these guys, and the mushrooms start growing all over their faces. And then it kills them within like a day. So this whole issue is about Dredd and the judges trying to contain this contagion from spreading. It's great. It's super fun. Okay. It's another old comic, Demon 56. Look at that awesome shark plane cover. One thing I really like about John McCrae's Demon, look at how he's drawn kind of like the way the logo looks. Obviously they're the same color, but I mean just the shapes of his clothing and his head and his hands and everything, it has this pointy, fiery look, kind of like the logo. Just love it. So this one is just full-on battle between angels and demons. The whole issue pretty much is just an awesome battle. And of course, Garth Ennis loving war, he turns this into mainly kind of like a war-themed battle. It's not just your typical, demons and angels battle. It's very much like a war story, which was super fun. Good stuff. All right, here we go on another longer miniseries I just read. So I love the Creepshow comics that Image puts out, and I read volume 3, but before I got to volume 3, there was this one-shot called Joe Hill's Wolverton Station, and this is the only Creepshow comic that I think they've come out with that's just one long full-length story instead of 2 shorter stories. This is written by Joe Hill and Jason Chiaramella, and it's drawn by Michael Walsh and colored by Michael Walsh, and the art is absolutely great in this comic. Michael Walsh is the guy from Silver Coin and a bunch of other stuff now. He's becoming pretty well known. This issue is about a guy who collects horror movie memorabilia, and he's got this museum of it in his place. And he's a really bad person, and he lies to people about what they actually have, about the value with them, so he can totally take advantage of them and get these things for a low price. So he's ripping people off left and right. And this issue is about this guy, Saul, fucking Saul. He's in England somewhere, I believe, and tells him he's got something that you're never going to believe. You got to, I've got the best thing. He's like one of his dealers. So he's going to give him a deal on this awesome artifact. So our main guy has to fly across the pond and go get it. But he has to take the train on the way there. And on the train, there's just all these werewolves, basically. And it's, to me, it's sort of unclear if everyone sees them as werewolves or if just our main character sees them as werewolves because he's so immersed in this horror movie stuff. But it's gruesome and really well drawn. Very subdued color palette, but it fits the aesthetic of this comic quite well. But I will say this wasn't like a unbelievable comic. It was good, though. It was definitely really good. The best issue from this 5-issue run of Volume 3 was issue 1. And yeah, it's got James Stokoe in it, and I got the James Stokoe variant. So let's get close up on that real quick. So ridiculously detailed. And I will say his color choices were really nice in this one. So first we have a different story called Letter Trip by Chip Zdarsky and artist Kagan McLeod. This is carrying on with our psilocybin theme, I guess, of this episode. This woman's daughter goes to some kind of, she runs away and goes to some kind of religious cult kind of thing. And when she gets there, she ends up seeing the cult leader guy. It's this doofus named Gary that she knew from when she was younger. She's like, oh, Gary, I haven't seen you in so long. And all of a sudden he's not crazy evil guy. He's just Gary. And he's like, oh, they used to work together. That's right. So now he is producing shrooms and giving them to her. So gives the lady shrooms, and then there's a cool twist ending, which I won't spoil. I kind of want to spoil this next one, though, so I'll try not to, but it's hard because this is just absolutely incredible. Scrimshaw, written and drawn and lettered and colored, everything by James Stokoe. And we have this guy who's like a reporter. He wants to find he goes to interesting places and talks to people with interesting stories. Maybe he's a reporter from the Journal over on the mainland. He's got a widely read business column, but he likes it's not very clear why he needs this mysterious story so badly, but he starts to interview this guy. This guy is the one everyone in this little village is saying has the best crazy story to tell. And so here he is recounting his tale, and one night on the beach he finds this arm, the severed arm, and on the bones there is some strange writing carved into the bone, and it's in some kind of weird alien type language, but he can read it somehow, and it becomes like an addiction for him. It tells the story. It's like this. There's a story on there. It says, they told the story of the navigator, a man raised by the sail who knew the name of every wave and bowed his head to each gust of wind. But the sea had turned cruel at his respect and sent a storm to catch him just in sight of home. The navigator called in every favor from the waves and the winds he had pocketed over a lifetime under the mast. But no matter what ruse or clever trick he employed to get him closer to shore, the sea would find a way to push him back out to the deep. Until, and the story just ended, cut mid-journey, cut clean as the bone it was written on. It was maddening. So it starts to drive him insane that he can't get the end of this story. And now we see the character who is inscribing the story with his sharp claw onto another severed limb, this time a leg. Look how cool that guy is. And he's so stoked to find this leg. And here's where I probably shouldn't spoil it, but it's just really, really creative. It's just amazing. So, volume 3, number 1, is the one you want to get. That's the best one. If you're just going to get like one issue from this run. There's been other issues of previous volumes that I've liked a lot like that too, but that's the one from this that's the best. So there were a lot of Martin Marazzo covers for this run. I think he did one for every issue. Usually the A cover, but not issue 3. This one is The Last Sleepover. Eugenio Mira and Jorge Fornes is the artist. And I really dug the art on this one. It's definitely got a old school comic look to it. It's colored really cool. It's colored with, pseudo Ben-Day dots, and they make the registration go outside the lines like an old comic book. But the story wasn't super creative. It was like a sleepover with these kids on Halloween, and these kids that come over that are vampires. But really nice art. Second story in this one, Trigger Warning by John Ridley and artist Stefano Raphael. Some of these I don't like too much. Whenever there's a lot of stuff about cell phones or apps or podcasts, it just kind of loses me. I mean, I know that we can't stay stuck in the past forever. We have to embrace the world we live in now. This technology is part of our world, so it makes sense that they would bring that kind of stuff in, but it just kind of loses me a little bit when there's a lot about that. But this is a story about people staying overnight in a haunted place they shouldn't be staying in. Number 3 has a killer cover. So this is the A cover for this one, but it's not Marazzo. This one is by Ryan Carr, C-A-R-R. Love that one. Especially like that guy. And that guy. But that guy's good too. So Chris Condon writes the first one with Martin Marazzo, and this one I'm going to spoil. Sorry, skip forward if you don't want to know, but this one's cool. It's about comics. I don't know why I like spoiling a story if it's about comics. So here we have a nerdy guy goes to a storage locker thing that somebody has procured and is selling off the comics, and he's digging through, and it's just a bunch of quarter bin stuff until he comes across this one issue, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm buying that. So the guy that's selling the comics doesn't know what he's got. He offers him $30 for the stack. The guy accepts. He goes home with these comics, and he's so excited, and he comes in, and his girlfriend's making dinner, and her brother's coming over, and you've been running late, and you're out spending money on comics again, giving him crap. And he's like, but you don't understand what I found. You don't understand. This is so great. And it's a rare misprint edition of the first printing of this old comic. So she's barking orders at him and tell him to take out the trash. So he takes out the trash and comes back in from the rain to find that the girlfriend set the colander of wet noodles on top of his stack of comics. Why did he leave them there? Fool! and he is not stoked, and it's all covered in slime. You! And all of a sudden, you know what's coming. The butcher knife. And then here's the cool twist. So yeah, kills his girlfriend over a comic book. Gets thrown in the slammer. And it turns out that comic book was not devalued from the stains. It was extremely raised in value because they're calling it the murder variant. It sold for a whopping $500,000 at auction because it was a part in a murder. So this guy, the fact that he murdered his wife because of the comic is what made the comic go up in value. It's kind of cool. All right, this next one, once again, it's about a podcasty thing. I'm not really into it. True-ish Crime. John Arcudi wrote it, and Sean McManus did the art. Now, the art is actually really good on this. This is like, there's like some kind of true crime app where people can track things and try to discover stuff, and they're trying to find these bodies from this murder that have never been found. And the art is great, though. Look at that. So this one was pretty good. I do like the art, but it didn't have like an amazing story. Two more. These ones were not as good either. Issue 4. First story, Flesh Wounds by Mike Carey, and artist is Mark Torres. And this is a cool one. I actually really liked this one. This guy, soldier, he is, he's really full of himself. He's done all these successful missions and he doesn't want to die. So he goes into this place right here and prays to something that can grant him any wish he wants, and his wish is to have no wounds ever take his life. So then he is just going through tons and tons and tons more battles, and nothing's killing him. But then he finally starts to receive these wounds, and they're like, I never told you couldn't be wounded. And there's a pretty cool ending. Face by Aki Bright, writer and artist. Does this last one here. And this was a weird one. You have to suspend your belief quite a bit with it, but this girl is ugly or thinks she's ugly, and her boyfriend dumped her for some other guy, so she goes to this place, this beauty clinic, where they have this new procedure where they can graft this other face onto your face and give you a beautiful face. And when it happens to her, there she realizes they found a way to turn her head backwards and then put her new face on the back of her head. So her old face is just behind her hair. Super random. So I'm not going to spoil it, but that's the setup on that one. Last one of these, number 5. This was the weakest issue of the series of this run. Tent Revival, Ed Brisson, with art by Cale New. Not sure to say it. But this was a really digitally painted one. So I know some people like this kind of art, but I'm not too into it. And it was once again some kind of a dating app premise. Guy takes chicks into the woods and kills them kind of thing. And then Prized Possession, written by Cami Garcia and art by Isaac Goodhart. This one was about some twins, and one of them it's like the evil twin and the good twin, and the evil twin is very jealous, and you can imagine where it goes from there. All right, so let's step back in time a little bit. I just read this comic that I got for a really good price at my local shop. This is a Spectacular Spider-Man special from 1968. It's magazine-sized, square-bound type of thing. It's called Lo This Monster, a book-length Spidey Spectacular. And it was like 52 pages of this first story. And there's a small retelling of Peter Parker's origin in the back. So this is written by Stan Lee and art by John Romita. So sort of like your classic, well-known Spider-Man team. But it's such nice art in this black and white. And it doesn't say anything about who did the tones. It's inked by Jim Mooney, or exotically embellished by Jim Mooney. But I love it. The first like 10 pages or so are just a fight scene, just right out the gate with this guy. And I don't remember his name exactly. I think they might call him the Man Monster. But it's just so many great shots of Spider-Man up on these buildings falling, like the way Romita captured this perspective and the anatomy from these weird positions was just really cool. And I just think it looks really nice with Spider-Man in black and white and having that gray shading on his costume. The majority of this issue involves this guy who is running for mayor, who is evil. It's this guy right here. And his name is Raleigh. And everybody thinks he is great. All the townspeople, J. Jonah Jameson, think he's great. But Spider-Man can tell the real truth behind this guy. This guy is the one that's created this man monster. And he is, I don't know, I guess kind of a little bit of a Hitler archetype or something. Like he wants to control the world and he wants to control all people. So that's his goal, world domination. Classic villain. And Spider-Man's going to stop him. But it's also kind of got a little bit of a Dr. Frankenstein vibe going on. It's a great splash page. He's got an assistant. So yeah, fun to read a really long old Spider-Man and not just have it be like a 20-pager. This comic smells incredible too. So probably not a super easy comic to find for cheap. I'm glad I did. I don't collect a lot of this kind of stuff, but I was glad to get this one for a good price. The last thing in here is just a retelling of Spider-Man's origin by Larry Lieber on the art. Here's another old one I read, Secrets of Haunted House, number 45. Got this from a thrift store recently. It's got 4 or 5 stories. I'll kind of skip through most of them. There's a Steve Ditko one in here called Star Tracker, written by Stan Timmons. And Ditko's art is hit and miss for me. I think the best one in this was the last one, The Royal House of the Dead by Kanigher and someone called Vicatan. And it's about Egypt and mummies. And yeah, I don't see the point in talking about it. But I read it, so it's in my box here. All right, here's the one new disappointing book that I'm not going to be getting any more of. It's called Drumsticks of Doom. I got this because it is a comic about a drummer and a metal band and a world where the Beatles did not become the most popular band. The Black Sabbath did instead. So everyone loves metal and pop music's not like a big thing. It's in black and white, which I like. Had a really nice heavy-duty cover. Good art, highly photo-referenced, but still looks to be hand-drawn and not just photoshopped up. And the plot just was kind of dumb. I just didn't like the writing of it. Just didn't have anything really to offer me. This werewolf guy that comes in, just kind of like, what's the point of that? Yeah. I don't even remember much about it. So, I wouldn't get it. I would definitely not buy that if I were you. Now, Miss Tree is a fantastic comic. Would definitely recommend it for people who like crime. Read number 23, which was the conclusion of the abortion issue. And then I read number 24, which is Ms. Tree finally going to jail. Seems like it's about time, huh? After all the killing she's done. She's finally going to an all-women prison. And she's still awaiting her trial. So she's got to spend, I think, like a month in the pen before her trial comes. Good issue. Looking forward to the conclusion of that. All right. I'm going to start going a little quick here. Minor Arcana number 14. Outstanding as always. Jeff Lemire's art never doesn't hit its mark. Layouts are creative. You know, puts a lot into the backgrounds. He does obviously rule out like all of the perspective and the buildings and stuff like that. But then his figures are really kind of quickly drawn and cartoony. But yeah, the story keeps getting better and better. So I've talked about this one before. That's number 14. I also read Terror Inc. number 3, Jorge Zafino. This one I don't think the art was as good in, but still really great. Super weird character. Okay, we're getting close to the end. Devil on My Shoulder number 3. Kyle Starks and Peter Kowalski. Don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it's a great series about revenge. And in this one, there's a new character that's introduced that is the hired muscle for this pansy killer guy. And what transpires with him and our main character is a really cool little addition to the plot. And yeah, she's doing stuff. She's making things happen here. So if you like revenge, get this comic. Okay, I got one more series to talk about, and it is a bit of a longer one. But I'm not going to go into any spoilers on this for sure. It's also a little hard to spoil because it's kind of sort of a surreal comic. This is the Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement. 10-issue series, also by Jeff Lemire, art by Andrea Sorrentino, and colored by Dave Stewart. So this is, I think, like the third Bone Orchard Mythos thing. Well, there was like a free comic book day one, then there was like a mini series, 10,000 Feathers, and then there was a hardcover called The Passageway. This one is a 10-issue series. Now, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino have collaborated many times in the past. I really liked Gideon Falls. And when I first started getting their collaborations, I really liked the art. As time's gone on, I think I maybe don't like it quite as much because it is totally obvious that he just takes photographs and doctors them up in Photoshop, which has never been my preferred method of seeing art, when you can kind of clearly tell it was sort of a traced thing. Now, I don't know shit. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this guy just had some models of some people, and then he just dreamed all this up and drew it all himself. He could have done that. I don't want to say anything that I don't fully know the answer to. But it's obviously done digitally. It's not drawn on paper. Once again, I could be wrong, but it seems pretty obviously digital to me. It seems like high contrast photos that he paints. And I mean, some people do that to great effect. I really like Tim Bradstreet, and that's a lot of what he does. So I can overlook it for sure if the art's good, which it is, and if the story's good, which it is, and the coloring is also outstanding. So this is about these 7 characters that live in this tenement building, 7 very unique personalities. I can say all of them are very, very believable personalities, and some of them are nice, some of them are dicks. There's a lot of flawed characters in this story. But what this is going for is sort of a, like, I think Jeff Lemire's interest is more in the, like, David Lynch kind of weird, don't really quite understand what it means type of stories. And Andrea Sorrentino is more interested in the, like, mystical Lovecraft monster kind of thing. So I don't know what to say about it exactly to set it up, but there was one character, this guy, Felix, right here, who supposedly dies at the beginning of the series, and then he gave the little boy this key, and they open his room, and they find that inside of his apartment in this building is this passageway, this giant staircase. It's just kind of like going into another world kind of thing. I'm trying to just look for the nicer pages, not just the talking, so you can see some of what Sorrentino brings to the mix. His layouts are incredibly creative, and they're not hard to follow and tell like which order to read things in. The mixture of the line art and the blacks is always really well done, but a lot of it is this kind of a look, which looks very much just like a photograph to me. So they're going down, they all kind of go together down this staircase, and they start to enter into these crazy realms, and there's all these different realms as they're traveling. So then you get some art like this, and it's like, that ain't traced from no photo, is it? Like, maybe, but that looks pretty, like, original to me. So I'm not going to show off every issue, but I tried to pull out the issues that have a lot of variety in the art, so you can see kind of where else they go. This one right here, for example, from the start, has a different kind of look to it. Some of them have a little bit more of a black and white look to them. But they're, you know, there's a lot of just character building, character relationship stuff. There's a lot of things regarding sevens. There's 7 of the people. There's floor 7 is this really important thing. There's these creepy guys. This is the part where a bunch of them come out. Yeah, they're getting surrounded right here. So, I mean, I just, as a rule, just pretty much pick up the stuff these guys put out, and I'm usually pleased with it. I liked Primordial quite a bit. They did some Green Arrow, and I bought it, but I just haven't got around to reading it. Just kind of buried away. There's number 4. Number 5, I got one of those Walking Dead Anniversary Negan variants. That's pretty sweet. Now, another thing I can say is that some of these issues are like normal sized issues with ads in the back. Some of these issues are really, really thick. Like this is a full, super thick issue. And okay, this one does have ads, but some of them, there's no ads. It just goes straight to the back page. So I kind of think that Jeff Lemire was like, I'm not going to worry about making every issue its own standalone thing. I'm just going to make my graphic novel, and I'm just going to chop it up into 10 pieces where it feels natural to chop it. So that's kind of what it feels like he did. And what I like is that it's just $3.99 per issue. He didn't charge more for the longer ones like Mark Millar does. It's a pretty cool shot right there. So as the issues go on, there's different art styles. Like that's very different from the regular faces. And some of the later issues have extremely cool art. But it's a really hard thing to describe. You kind of get a sense, I think, from just seeing the images I'm showing what it is. A lot of mysterious, otherworldly kind of stuff. The only other variant I got was number 6. It's Christian Ward. He did a variant for all of them. There's a lot of flies in this comic too. Number 7, Revelations. Some of them have a subtitle that go with them. This one is this more black and white kind of style. So they do a good job of putting some more backstory in as it goes. So they're doling out the information in chunks. Still very photo referenced or traced, but good variety. I mean, I like the fact that there's quite a bit of variety in this series. So this isn't a like rush out and get it this minute thing. I would definitely say if you were on the fence on Good as Dead, the first one I talked about, I would definitely go get that. It's extremely good. This was just like, yeah, if you come across it, get it. Okay, so here's a neat part where you see this was in one of the other Bone Orchard Mythos comics. There's also feathers that fall down sometimes. These are things that tie in with their other series. There's even a book they show here called The Bone Orchard Mythos. So it is kind of a shared world, but you don't need to read any of the other ones to get anything out of it. And you flip the page and you see this. And this art looks really, really cool and very different from what we've been seeing. And that starts another section of this issue with this kind of art. And I'm just curious, is he thinking this all up himself and creating this just out of his own imagination? Because it's so different from the photo reference style of the figures, the humans. So, I mean, I'd like to see a book where he just draws nothing but this kind of shit. Look at that. God damn, that is so, so cool. Good job. Did you see the pigs at the bottom? That's pretty rad. Red eyes. So if this art looks nice to you and you want a really good story to go with it that's a lot meatier than this series, I would recommend Gideon Falls. However, it is much longer and therefore more expensive and takes longer to read. But this is a nice short one, 10 issues. It's a couple years old, so you probably get a really cheap trade paperback at this point. Here's number 9, Origins. And once again, he's the cover artist. There's his signature right there. Did he paint this? It totally looks painted to me. You see a lot of that brushwork. Is there digital stuff that makes this paint texture that good nowadays? Probably, but I don't know. But then look at how this art looks. Completely different again. All these little lines. Kind of that like John Totleben small parallel line kind of look, but nothing like that. Totleben is his own guy. I like Totleben quite a bit more than this, but it's just really neat. This one's kind of a flashback to sort of an Adam and Eve kind of situation. Very nice pages though. Pretty metal. Yeah. All right, should probably stop just showing all the art. You want to leave you wanting more. A lot of this issue, though, is still the main characters. Just kind of wanted you to see how there is some really cool variety. And the last issue, number 10. And don't worry, I'm not spoiling it, but once again, another style, a more painted looking style. So, like, did Dave Stewart do a lot of this blending of color and paint kind of look? I don't know. There's not a lot of that. It's just kind of the first page and a half, I think, and then it kind of goes back. Oh no, there's this one. Yeah, badass. That is really cool. So, pretty good story. All right, I'm going to give you the big one. You got to see that. If you watched all the way to the end, you deserve to see that motherfucker right there. Looks like a pretty good place to end it. Thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying your comic collection as much as I am enjoying mine.